This video is going to be on bearings, and we're going to start talking about, well, firstly, what a bearing is, and then secondly, true bearings. So bearings, the easiest way to break it down would be that it's an angle, firstly, and it's a measure of a turn. So if you think about when you're out camping and you're using your compass, so an angle, that angle will tell you the direction, so it's a measure of direction, and what angle to turn, basically to go from one location to another. So basically we're talking about an angle. So there will be two types of bearings we're going to look at, and the first is true bearings. Okay? Now true bearings are also known as three-figure bearings, and the reason why they're called three-figure bearings is it's an angle written with 3 digits, so it must contain 3 digits. If your angle, say, is an acute angle with only 2 digits, then you'll put a 0 at the beginning. So like I said before, a bearing is a measure of turn. So if we wanted, say, we've got some locations here, we've got A, B, C, and D. If I want the measure of turn with a true bearing, you are always going to begin at the north line. Well, let's not miss the north line altogether. We're going to start on the north line. And we're going to turn in a clockwise direction. That is very important. So we're going to start from clockwise, and when I start from clockwise, get a red pen, I think, we're going to be turning. To get to A, we will turn an angle of 40 degrees. So when I ask for the bearing of A from O is this location here. And so if I was to start at this line, which is my true north, or north, I would turn 40 degrees clockwise to get to A, and that means the bearing of A is 040 degrees true. The reason why we have the 0 is it must be 3 figures. So since 40 degrees doesn't have 3 figures, we put a 0 at the front. Now, if I wanted to get to B, location B over here, once again, you must start on the north line, and you are going to go clockwise. So this time my angle of turn is bigger. The question is, how big is it? Well, you've got to calculate that. So you could say that that's a 90-degree angle there. So I've got a 90-degree turn plus another 70. And 90 plus 70, well, that would give me 160. So you can use a calculator if that's a difficult calculation. And we get 160 degrees true. This time I don't need any extra digits because my bearing already contains 3 figures. Okay. Now we want the bearing of C from O. Don't forget O. When we talk about O, the tricky thing is, O is taken as this location here, but when we discuss O, we start our bearing from true north. Okay, so very important, you start from north and you turn clockwise. So to get to C, I'm going to turn clockwise, keep turning until I hit this line here, which gives me the location of C. So that gives me the direction I will travel along to get to C. So if I wanted that angle, well, first I've turned through a full 180 degrees. So it's important, rather than going 90 and 90, I can already see that from here, from north to south, if I go from due north to due south, that's 180 degrees, due north being straight up, due south being straight down. So I've got 180, and then I've got an extra 55 degrees. So if you add the 180 and the 55 together on your calculator, you will find that that is 235 degrees true. Okay. My last bearing is D. Okay, so I want the bearing of D, and once again, I think we're in the habit now. We start from true north, and we're turning clockwise all the way to get to D, and there's quite a few different ways to do this. You could actually work out this angle here, because if you know that this angle's 38, then it would mean that this angle here would be 90. This one here would be 90 minus 38, and that is 52 degrees. And then you could say, well, I'm doing nearly a full 360, but I take out the 52. So if you remove the 52 degrees, then you'd be left with your bearing. And if you take away 52 degrees from 360, you would be left with 308 degrees true. So that's one way of figuring it out. For those of you who want to go clockwise direction, you could say, well, that's 180. Then I've got another 90. Well, that would be 180 plus 90 is 270. So you'd start with 270, and then you could just add that little 38 as well. And if you do that, you will get exactly the same answer, which is 308 degrees true. There are some important locations that you need to know about, such as north, east, south, and west. Never eat soggy Weet-Bix. And you've also got the directions that are exactly halfway between north and east, which is northeast. Exactly halfway between south and east is southeast. Exactly halfway between south and west is southwest. And exactly halfway in direction between north and west is northwest. So if we know that this is a 90-degree angle, then half of that angle would mean that 45 degrees is here and 45 degrees is there. And same with all of these. So southeast would be breaking that 90-degree angle halfway again. So we've got all these 45-degree angles here. Now those angles will help us work out some bearings. So if I wanted to write northeast as a compass, as a true bearing, I'd start from the north line, which is here, and I would travel 45 degrees true. And if I wanted to work out southeast, well, I would start at the north line and I would come all the way here, which if you look, that's a 90-degree angle plus another 45. That actually gives you 135 degrees true. And if I wanted to work out the southwest line, well, I could travel a full 180 and then another 45 degrees. So 180 degrees plus 45 is 225 degrees true. And then if I wanted to work out my northwest line, let's use a different color. Here you go, all the way up to the northwest line. I can see that that would be 270 degrees would get me to here, and then I'd need another 45. So 270 plus 45 degrees actually gives me 315 degrees true. That's about all you need to know on true bearings for now. The next video will be on compass bearings.